Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. You're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media. That's Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can always read my work on ESPN.com. We have daily mini camp reports from the Commanders, but also from other teams that are having their mini camps, whether it's last week or this week. So you can give those a read. That'll be for Tuesday, Wednesday practices. We're not doing it for the Thursday practice. Anyway, that's on ESPN.com. So, and for you gold members, don't forget tonight. Well, actually, if you're watching this, it'd be tonight, but it's Thursday, June 13th, 7 o'clock Eastern time with Logan Paulson in a private Zoom session for the gold members. All the other members, all the other club members, you'll get to hear it after we're done, but you gold members get access to Logan and get to ask him questions. So join us for that. If you want to become a gold member, go to the Ampire Media YouTube page, hit the word join, and find the gold membership. And I'll be doing these private Zooms, not necessarily with players or ex-players, but I'll be doing them throughout the season for the gold members, and we'll have other guests on there as well at times. So anyway, I appreciate all of you. So let's get to practice. Day 2 of minicamp. That's what we're here to talk about. We had a chance to finally talk to Jayden Daniels. It's been a couple of weeks. So it's always good to hear from the quarterback of the team. And he has been working as this first quarterback the last 2 practices we've seen. Not a surprise. This is what he's here to do. Anyway, but I always like talking to him because you get to any quarterback, you get a snapshot into who they are and their approach. And I think what sticks out is, he emphasizes that he has a long way to go. And he said that a couple of times when he's talking to us. Somebody asked, one of the reporters asked him about like, oh, you get to do these things that like a star quarterback gets to do. You're throwing out the first pitch here, you go in this event, that event. And he's like, I ain't a star quarterback. I'm a rookie. I've got a long way to go. So that's been a consistent mindset that he's expressed to us from the time he's arrived here. It's not an act. And I think within that, now I will say he accepts the responsibility of his position. It's not like he's eschewing like, oh, I'm not here to, he's not coming here saying I'm here to be the face of the franchise. It's more, I'm here to do my part. But I think he also understands the part of a quarterback is to be a leader in his way. And he's not going to be a grab you by the face mask, but as I've told you, guys gravitate to him. And his leadership style is very engaging. So, you hear from a lot of guys, but like one of the things he does. So again, he embraces that responsibility, but he's not elevating himself to a spot that he has not earned yet. And all he's earned is on June 12th to be the guy running out there with the starters when they're going 11 on 11. That's it. So, but I like that approach because guys like that, that's how you succeed. It's the guys that I've covered that have been very, very successful in their career. They don't come in saying, especially at that position, they do not come in saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. They come in saying exactly what Daniels has done, which is coming here to do my part. But that part is a big one. And I definitely think that he understands that part as very much. And so that's why he's getting here. We finally found out what time he gets here. He said he gets here at 5:45 a.m., gets some film work done. And the guy that joins him here, Luke McCaffrey, and I've heard that those two have connected as well. I told you yesterday that Daniels and Sam Hartman have connected, but also with McCaffrey, and they joined up at the rookie mini camp. And I think McCaffrey I think it was that he asked him what time he gets here and asked him to join. He joined them, and they kept it going. So they come here and they get here at 5:45. They go to the bubble, the practice bubble. They do kind of a walkthrough over plays. And this is how you catch up. Like, tell you, man, that all those things are different from what I've seen from other rookie quarterbacks here, for sure. And it's not even close. So anyway, so that's what he does. But that's again, you get those little snapshots in the window to get a look through the window, I guess, into their mindset. And the other thing you hear is how much he likes talking to others, whether it's Bobby Wagner. I know Jeremy Reeves has talked to him about various plays. They'll see something, they'll point it out, and he's very receptive to it. And I think that's another key, because again, not everybody is like that, especially at that position, and especially when they're coming in with some of the the hype around him, who is a, as a Heisman Trophy winner, number 2 overall pick. Anyway, so that was always good to hear from him. We also heard from Austin Eckler, and I'll get to him at the end of the podcast. So a couple things I want to talk about. I'm going to kind of hit a few different topics today because a lot of things happen, and I don't want to just spend every podcast just talking so much about Jayden Daniels, even though, let's face it, man, that's, we know how pivotal he is to this franchise, but so are other people. So one of the things that sometimes you just watch things, right? And I pointed out how Zach Ertz worked during the special teams portion in the podcast yesterday. By the way, Ertz was in street clothes today, and then Frankie Louvu had a minor, I think it was like an ankle issue, so he wasn't practicing, but they were there. So, but with Bobby Wagner, a guy like that, again, this guy's going to go to Canton. He's going to go down as one of the better inside linebackers. He was just a terrific linebacker, and what you see is a guy who still has fun out there competing. But what I also saw is a guy that is going through all these special teams drills. And it's just kind of funny to watch. Like, again, here's a guy going to Canton. He's here in June and he's going through special teams work. And yes, at times, like maybe he may have to be out there. I don't know. But it's still, I think if you're another player and you see Bobby Wagner going through that, what are you going to say? I'm not going to, of course now they have no choice, but if he's going to go a certain way out there, so are you, because as a lot of guys say, he's Bobby Wagner. I mean, it's really kind of funny how everybody you talk to is kind of like that. Even Tress Way is like, it's Bobby Wagner. So, but when you see him out there doing them, whether it's just kind of just a little tackle drill or not tackle, they're not tackling, but just, filling a lane and, angles or whatever, he's out there doing it. And I just think that it's just, to me, it's notable because he's Bobby Wagner. On the first kick return, it was Kaz Allen and Austin Eckler. And I'm going to put up some video at some point on the Empire Media page, just giving you a look at how they're doing the kick coverage or kick blocking or whatever, because it's very different. So I'll put that up there on there at some point. The other thing that jumped out, Daryl Tapp, man, dude's got some energy. And I know a lot of coaches do, but he's got a lot of energy. And I think that's really good for that group. Now, we're not talking like everybody's back because you got obviously 2 of the big names are gone, but there are a lot of guys back, and especially those defensive tackles. And Tapp, I think, is going to be good for them. So Tapp is very energetic, and you see them. They're spending a lot of time working on the hands, and I mean, a lot of this stuff isn't new, but I do think that there's a little bit more of the teaching aspect going on with this group, and that's a good thing. And so you see a little bit more of the way they're working their hands. And I also like that you do see him, like, guy maybe doesn't get something right, he's going to go back and do it again. And they spent a lot of time with Fedarian Mathis doing some things like that. But even like, see him doing it with John Allen, and just because there are a couple different techniques that I'm seeing them use, like the way the way they counter, they can counter their rip move. So they might do get your hands in there, get a rip move, but then you take that rip move arm and you take it and you fling it around the other side of their body to flick them off and get them going. So in other words, if they're going to the right, the rip is with their left arm, they're taking their left arm and getting it around the defender's right side and turning them and creating another path that way. So I hope you can see that. Again, I'll put some video up there for you with that as well. And so, but like some of that stuff is new, and you do see what you like is you watch a guy like John Allen who's taking to it. He's got his own hump move that's really good. And even Nick Allegretti talked about how he's got that going against Allen. He's got this move that is really hard to defeat. So for an offensive lineman, but this is something else that they can add to it. And you watch Allen talking to one of the assistant coaches and just going over to make sure he's got that technique down. And, and so I think they're all receptive. So far, they're receptive to everything because it's new. But I do think that, I'll be honest, I think that I think Allen and Payne have to be as energized as anybody, just because I think, the first few years with Sam Mills as the line coach was just brutal for them. And even though the last year and a half or so wasn't as bad in that regard, it just wasn't what they needed. And so Now they have this, and I think it just so far looks better. I mean, the whole staff just looks better in general. But again, they worked with a lot with Mathis with it. Also sometimes how he needs to step and just step and then use his hands in correlation to that. Again, I told you about the rip moves. Jamin Davis working a lot with the defensive linemen. That's all I've seen him do the last 2 days, where they're working on the edge and then going through drills with the D linemen while the inside linebackers are in a different group. So he's just spending a lot of time there. And if you're going to make it work for him there and use him as a situational rusher, you're going to have to give him a lot of work down there, because it's just, while he has some natural skills, it's not a natural thing for him yet, right? So there are things that you can see, but there's still a lot that goes into being a good rusher. It's not as simple as, okay, he's got a little bit of length, he's got this, go get him, Ace. It's not that simple. So it's a good thing that they're doing that. I'll be curious now to see how his role develops. I also think it speaks to how they feel about the linebacker depth that they've acquired with, McGee as well in there. And, they've signed a couple other veterans backup. So it's just, folks, the linebacker position's in a much better spot than it was if they're going to sit there and put Davis down inside a lot, like they certainly have been so far. See where it goes. This is the time of the year to see, is it worth continuing with that? Because we can go back to the other one too. There are a couple times, even with Davis, like, again, the learning curve. And there was one time where they're working on stunts and just the footwork on stunts and how to cross. And he and the guy he went with collided. And so Ryan Kerrigan gets in there and just kind of shows him how he needs to do it. And the next one, he took a little bit of a deeper step and was able to cut inside at the right angle, whereas the first time not quite as deep. And he it collided with this guy. Second time better. That's what this is all for, right? So that's all a good thing. But the other thing is, like, again, Tap's got some energy, but there's so much on competition. And again, not like any other coach hasn't used competition before. I do think that there's a lot going on here that is different with that and how much they emphasize it. And I think that's been a good thing so far. For example, with the D linemen, one of the things they did, they have a sled drill. And so they'll line two guys up. It's a 2-man sled, and it's just basically who's getting their hands on it first. And that's the winner. And so they'll just put random guys together, and, and it creates a lot of energy and fun. And if you're going to be out there doing this stuff, you may as well enjoy it. And I do think they're making it enjoyable. Now, again, see where everything is at down the road. But listen, when you enjoy going to work, you just work a little bit harder and better. And I think that's what you're seeing here so far. And, but that's like, guys get into that and you see it. And like, there was one time where John Allen, Deron Payne, when it gets here, they jumped in there to go against one another. And that's, I think that one, Allen won. Allen went against someone, a younger guy, lost that one. Jamin Davis, he went against, I want to say it was Armstrong. Yeah, it was Armstrong, and he won that one. And then he went against KJ Henry, and Henry got him on that one. And I was rolling film on that one, and I heard Henry say, "I ain't losing to no safety." So just a little playful dig at Davis, where it's coming from. Of course, he wasn't a safety, and he knows that. Anyway, so you see that a lot, and I think, again, it creates energy, and that's what you wanted to practice. When you have that energy, I just think things are better. So let's get to the 11-on-11 portion. For Jayden Daniels, there are a couple times in there, and it was a little bit rougher than it has been. They had a hurry-up drill where first pass, this is late in practice, first pass was high to Austin Eckler, incomplete. Second one, little crosser to Cole Turner, was high and a little bit behind. Turner makes a really nice catch. Next one, another deep, I think it was like a deep out, if I remember right. And this, again, to Cole Turner, too high this time, cannot get it. And then on the next one, and Eckler brought this up after practice when we talked to him, because I asked him about his impressions of Daniel so far. And like, you're seeing all these things. Is it, how good is it versus how, hey, it's only June. But one of the things he pointed out was in the practice today, he was like a few feet away from him and he threw the ball at his feet. And he's like, come on, man. But then he also pointed out a lot of good things. But his point is there's still a growth process here. And this was part of it. Like that was a hurried throw in this drill. And I felt like this is one of the few times that I felt like Daniels was sped up a little bit for whatever reason. But it's one of the rare times where you saw him miss, I think, like that, especially on a few throws in a row. Haven't seen that before. I've seen that from other quarterbacks there, but not from Daniel. So again, he's a rookie. Got a lot to work on. A lot that's gone in that's been very good too. You saw the legs a little bit more. You're starting to see some more of the option stuff. You had one time he kept the ball around the left end, and you had Sam Cosmi out there sealing off, getting downfield, using that athleticism, sealing off a guy. I think it was a linebacker coming in, would have given Daniels about 5, 6, 7 more yards. Another time he went around left end. Percy Butler would have come up and had him, but it was about a 10-yard gain. So now in college, that may have been a longer gain, but here you have Butler, who's got good speed, took a good angle, but Daniels probably would have gotten out of bounds, but he still would have gained about 10 yards. So definitely seeing that too. And did have another time where he kept the play alive and hit Brian Robinson. Similar play that he had yesterday, thrown to De'Ami Brown, but this time it was to Robinson. He's rolling. Daniels rolling to his right, throws back to Robinson and runs from there. So first left tackle today, Brandon Coleman, the rookie. So this is what they said. They're going to rotate him around, and they have last week, Trent Scott, the other day, Cornelius Lucas, and now Brandon Coleman. So again, you can only draw so many conclusions from him, but I do like his footwork. You can see the footwork and you can see the athleticism. What you don't know is, like, there were a couple of times like, well, was he supposed to do that? He one time blocks down. There's a blitz. There's leaving KJ Henry coming off the edge and going against a running back. I don't know. Like, Wagner was blitzing inside. I don't know. Is he supposed to block down? That's what you don't know. And so, but what I do see with what you just see individually is the footwork, and he seems to have a good balance to his stance. And so those are things you can build on, and it's why they feel like he can play left tackle. But again, we'll see when the pads run. Trent Scott, saw him working a second team left tackle today. And the only time I really watched him one time, to be honest, he was bending at the waist and a little bit too outstretched with his arms. So that was one play. So I'm not going to draw big conclusions, but that's just the play I happened to watch him on. Lucas was working as a second team right tackle. We know what he can do. We've seen it for a few years. There was another time where Daniels had a swing pass to Brian Robinson left side. Emmanuel Forbes did a good job in coverage, kind of running up, would have collided with him. Now, what would have happened? I don't know, because Robinson's a big dude and Forbes isn't, but Forbes had the momentum coming forward and he was in the right spot and played it the right way. So a good job by him. Another time there was Tyler Owens, a safety, undrafted free agent, collided with Armani Rogers. Rogers kind of staggers after the catch, held on the ball, staggers a little bit, kept going a little bit. Owens is a big dude, 6'2", 210. So, it wasn't just a soft collision there. We also talked to Tress Way, and it's funny because one of the things he talked about was, setting team goals. He said, this is the first time where the coaches have said, ask the players to set the team goals. And I think that's always a good thing, because it's their team, right? I mean, the coaches, obviously they're the coaching it, but the players it's their stuff. It's their work on the field. And so he said that he found that to be really cool, that the coaches, that Dan Quinn asked them to set the goals for themselves. And like I said, he got a kick out of it. Way also still wearing number 10, number still not decided for sure. So we'll see when training camp opens, but right now he's number 10. Place kicker Lucas Haversick is still in camp. He's here on a tryout, and today he got his tryout in practice. He was 7 for 7 from, I think it was all between 46 yards and in, but on the last one. So, by the way, go back to Darryl Tapp, because Darryl Tapp, you could hear some defensive guys. We're on the other sideline from their defensive guys are. We don't have really, they're in the between two fields. So you're not allowed over where they're standing. So you're trying to see, well, who's saying what. And all I could tell is that Tapp seemed to be very vocal. And I think he was the one in kind of egging some guys on to get loud and all that. And he's like, somebody yelled out, "We got a new kicker," meaning just, hey, there's a new kicker. Got to indoctrinate them here, right? So on the last kick, it was 46 yards. All the, the deep there, of course, you got the special teams groups are out there, the blockers, the rushers, and all that. But everybody else kind of started gathering around. The guys on the offense and both sides came on the field, kind of hooping it up because you want to put pressure on them. Hey, this is part of the trial. If you can't get nervous in that. He drilled it down the middle. So, anyways, it's always fun to see how they treat those guys. And again, let's go back to Austin Eckler. So, a couple things he touched on, being reunited with Anthony Lynn and how much he focuses on the fundamentals and the details of the position. I thought Randy Jordan was a very good running backs coach. And so, but I think Anthony Lynn, that's why the dude became a head coach, is for his knowledge of that position, the running game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Eckler talked about this being a different kind of offense that he's been used to, but what he seemed to like is that he's going to be used all over. He's Swiss Army knife type guy. What kind of rattled off like all the different spots that he's going to have to learn. And just how he was also paired at times with Brian Robinson out there. And I think he likes that a lot as well. And, one of the things he talked about too is he's been with a veteran quarterback in Phillip Rivers, right, out in San Diego. And then with the LA Chargers with Justin Herbert. And so he's seen different things with those quarterbacks, and he can relate it to Jayden Daniels. Now, with Rivers, he's going to be organizing everything. He can see all the protections. But with the young quarterback, you got to help him. So he said one of the key things for a young quarterback is a veteran center. And that's why he thinks like Tyler Biadasz was a big pickup for them because of that. And then having the skill guys who know what they're doing. That's why you have like a guy like Eckler, a guy like Ertz, who are good. They know what they're going to be doing out there. McLaurin at receiver, those guys become very important for a young quarterback, especially. And, he does like Daniel's approach. I think that's one of the things that has excited him. But again, and that's why he said, hey, it's hard to tell anything until you get to the preseason. And I agree with that. The only thing you can look for right now, and this is why I focus so much on the approach, because I think over time, approach wins. It's just a matter of how long does it take to get there and what kind of team are they building around you as you get there, right? So there's a lot to still learn, but the approach we're all seeing, and he likes it as well. And then one other thing too, I think is funny is Dan Quinn yesterday was talking about Brian Robinson's hands, and I think they're a little bit, he can catch the ball. Well, that's something I think we've all known. I just think that they were surprised by that. But so I don't know, the guy can catch. So, and to me, it's like, it's an area of his game that I've felt it should be enhanced and hasn't been enough. Anyway, the last thing is after practice, what you see is so during practice, you can only get so many reps for the quarterbacks. You need Daniels to get reps. Marcus Mariota, the obvious and clear number 2, is going to get the other reps. And then any extra reps would go to Jeff Driscoll. So after practice, you get Sam Hartman working almost like in a 7-on-7 with some of the younger developmental guys, just to go over some of the plays for a few minutes and just kind of get their time that way. But that's how you also keep guys sharp, is by doing those developmental periods. Because if you don't, then when those guys are needed, they're not ready. So there you go, folks. That's it for me. Appreciate you tuning in as always, and hope you're enjoying these mini camp reports. I'll be back with another one after Thursday's final mini camp. It's a final look at this team before we get to the real stuff in late July in training camp. I'll talk to you next time.